Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today it's July 22nd. And this is the day that back in 1870 that Governor Edmund J. Davis created the Texas State Police Force. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about the state police. This is one of those topics that when I get on the internet and search for it, it's hard to find information that doesn't have a slant there because there's been so much distortion. So let me go ahead and before I get into some of the history of the police and what happened, let me go ahead and start off by saying, number one, I am a supporter that backs the blue and believes that law and order is important, that we need that. It just so happens the Texas State Police is quite a controversial topic. The police force was started by Governor Davis. The only problem is they were only accountable to Governor Davis. So typically the people of Texas generally did not like the Texas State Police. Now the Texas State Police at the time that Davis instituted it, he felt that the white people in Texas were incapable of following the law. So they needed a state police force to keep them in line. And so he created this force mainly with a lot of former slaves and black officers. For that community, it was a wonderful opportunity to go ahead and make some advancements during a time that the areas where you can make advancements were limited. Problem is, the state police, it started off as a good idea, but when you have an agency that is only answerable to the governor, it creates a situation where there's room for corruption and room for the state police to go ahead and just operate on the whims of the governor as opposed to following the rule of law or having accountability to a state constitution or any type of board. Now, to their credit, they did put down several disturbances in Texas. They quelled the disturbance in Burton. Now, the problem is, throughout the state, as they were going around enforcing various laws, many times, I don't know whether it was because they're inexperienced as police officers, they ended up being the source of disorder. That happened in Madisonville, Bastrop, Brown, Nacogdoches, and over in Smith County. They go in there and they actually end up stirring things up. So what is it that they did? What they did, they tended to break up some of the political meetings, especially the Democratic Party political meetings. So literally, they were impinging on free speech. They often patrolled polling places to make sure that the wrong people didn't vote. Talk about control of the voting apparatus. They definitely had control of the voting apparatus. They stuffed ballot boxes. They often entered private homes without any type of warrant. They made false arrests. And they even went so far as to permitting prisoners to escape from the Huntsville Penitentiary. And it didn't help when the chief of the Texas State Police went ahead and absconded to Belgium with, I want to think, what was it, $34,000? Which was a lot of money back in those days. $37,000. Which back in the early 1870s was definitely some serious money. They came along. It was a noble idea, but the structure set it up for a lot of corruption. There were a lot of problems. Yeah, it definitely sounds familiar, Jonathan. History repeats itself, doesn't it? And in terms of the state police, it left them with a black eye. And this is one reason why many of the residents of Texas have been hesitant to have any type of state police force or anything called the state police, because the people have memories, and some of them remember their history and know what happened with the state police. Now, let me go ahead and sort a few things out, because if you get on the internet, you're going to get some false information. Okay, number one, the Texas Rangers are not the state police. Those are two separate agencies with two separate heritages, beginnings and how they operated and so forth. So you can't refer to the Texas Rangers as the state police. Now, I know in some states they do have a state police, but the Rangers have a totally different structure than the state police, and they have a heritage that goes back before the creation of the state police. Okay, then there is also the Texas State Guard. That's a military branch, and that functions independently of the state police. The state police did not lead to the State Guard. That's a misnomer. I can tell you that at one point, the Texas Military Force Museum or whatever contacted me about writing the history of some of the Texas State Guard units, and they go back to way before the state police came into existence. So they predated the state police. So if you fall for any of those misdirections, that's problematic, because I know some of the people that are writing these sites and putting out this information purposely sanitize it and misdirect people. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure you don't get misdirected, because the Texas State Police, noble idea, but had the wrong kind of structure, and there were a lot of problems with it during that time. And so for that reason, it's one of those branches of government that ended up having a more bad reputation than good reputation. But I wanted to go ahead and go over their history and what happened. They were short-lived. I mean, as soon as the Democrats regained power, they disbanded the police force because of all the harassment that went on. Another thing besides shutting down free speech, they intentionally went about disarming many Texas citizens, and I think that's where a lot of negativity came from as well, the disarmament of Texas citizens, because you don't take away their Second Amendment rights, and even in the state constitution, that freedom is there. And this was especially true in the days after the war. In 1870s, people needed guns to protect themselves. And if you go around and have a police force that does nothing but shut down political meetings, stuff ballot boxes, and try to confiscate weapons, it does not go over well. But anyways, that will give you a rundown of Texas State Police. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to leave them below. I'll be glad to get to them. But until next time, this is Jeff Murrah wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.